Welcome back to NBL Now. Yes, that's right. We are still edging just that little bit closer to the return of the NBL 25 season. The FIBA break just about done and dusted. This is Wednesday morning's edition. We're back tomorrow night with Illawarra taking on New Zealand. But before we get there, we've been working our way around the league, around each and every team, and talking about the stuff that they're doing well and the stuff that needs to improve for the second half of the season. I'm Jack Heverin. Derek Rucker, great to see you. And today we're talking about the Cairns Taipans.
Cairns Taipans, kind of been an unlucky season for the Taipans. I think people probably are writing them off, but I am not, Jack. I think there's some promise left in their season.
So they sit at the moment, last on the ladder, 3 wins and 9 losses. Just before we dive into this season so far, where did you predict that they would finish? When we were all doing our way too early predictions and all that sort of stuff, where did you have them?
I think I had them last. I had them last, Jack. I just didn't think they were going to have enough firepower to finish anywhere above. But I think I've slightly changed. They may be able to make a run.
All right. I think the biggest issue for them, Ruck, and before we get to the key questions, is health, obviously. And it's been the story with Cairns the last couple of seasons. They've only had 4 players play every game for the season. Taron Armstrong's only played 4 games. Tanner Groves 5 and Pedro Bradshaw 8.
Yeah, and what that does, it just starts to eat away at the fiber of your confidence and your self-esteem as a team. It's really hard to build any type of camaraderie on the playing court when you don't have people available to train. You're doing a lot of 4-on-4 breakdown stuff in training because you just don't have bodies, or you're starting to bring in players who probably aren't just quite at the NBL level, and it eats away at competitiveness in training. So you're not getting the hits that you need. Now, when you're going through that type of situation, perhaps it's easier just to cut it all back and go real light on the training to ensure that the guys that you have left maintain good health. There are a few different ways to go at it, but right now, injuries have really decimated their season.
What's their biggest positive of the year so far?
On a small sample size, Taron Armstrong is a much better basketball player than I had anticipated he was coming into the season. However, he's had the injury bug. So I'm kind of disqualifying him, and I'm going to go with Sam Wardenberg. He's been their best and most consistent player this season. It's great to see him bounce back after not a dismal season last year, but he certainly experienced a sophomore slump. And I think Sam is now showing you what type of player he's probably going to be throughout the course of his NBL career.
Yeah, I think that's a really great call. He would be, I'm guessing, Ruck, and Pete Hooley is the man that does the award watch, but I'm guessing that Sam Wardenberg would be in discussions for most improved player, wouldn't he?
Well, his numbers are really good. He's over 50% from the field. He's over 40% from the 3. His free throw shooting is about 75%. But just in terms of the way he's impacting games, I like the mindset that he has in games. And with people being out, he hasn't shied away from opportunities. And sometimes those opportunities in games haven't worked well for him. But the fact that he's being aggressive and understanding that the team needs him to be so, I think that's a real positive for him.
What's been their biggest challenge?
Well, we discussed the health, but Jack, the road wins. They had some road wins early that looked really good. But can you maintain a level of performance on the road that while you may not get the win all the time, but stay in the game? It seems to be feast or famine for them at the moment on the road. Some road consistency down the stretch could, this is going to sound crazy, it could, Jack, it could get them in a place where they're competing for a play-in. I know their record looks horrible right now, but they're going to win a good share of their home games that are remaining. So if they can add on just 3 or 4 road victories down the stretch, they're going to be right in the hunt.
And, Ruck, it feels like this is a team that if they're an emotional team, if they can get their tails up a little bit, if they can kind of get a bit of momentum going, that feels possible.
Well, Jack, they're one of the teams that truly takes on the personality of its coach. And speaking of Adam Ford, I think he's been very, very good this season with the hand that he's been dealt. Keep in mind, when they've had a full roster, they've won more games than they've lost. Keep in mind also, They had a tough loss against New Zealand at home. They had a tough loss against Brisbane at home. If those games had flipped the other way, they've got 5 games with people coming back in the win column, and this would have totally changed the complexion of the evaluation process of them right now.
Biggest surprise packet?
Well, I knew Rob Edwards was coming in and was going to be good and was going to be dynamic, but he's exceeded expectations. And I know people are probably sick of hearing me allude to the top 15 list, but I may have slightly overlooked Rob Edwards. And I think a lot of that was due to the fact that his team hasn't performed well. But when I looked at his numbers, they were good. He's performing well as an individual. The only thing on the defensive end, Cairns are so bad, and he's a part of that reason why they're not performing well in the defensive end. And that really hurt his chances to be in strong consideration for the top 15.
Yeah, they're giving up the best part of 93 points a game, and they've got the worst defensive rating in the competition.
Yeah, and they turn the ball over a lot. Offensively, they're not good. But as we say, a lot of that has been with a team that is undermanned. I'm still holding off. I reserve the right to reevaluate them in January, Jack, because if they stay healthy, I have faith in Ford. I have faith in that team that they can turn things around.
MVP of the season so far, is it Rob Edwards or is it Sam Wardenberg?
I'm going co-MVP. They both have had their moments.
Oh, of course you are.
I'm not allowed to do that. You need me to...
You do it. Hey, you do whatever you want.
Okay, Jack, no. You put me under pressure. I'm going with Sam Wardenberg as the MVP. I think he's been the most solid, but Edwards is right there. And I think when Armstrong comes back, I mean, he's been the most frustrating player this season, not because he's done anything bad. It's just because we see so much brilliance in this guy, and we understand we love good Australian point guards. And if he can play that position well, not only does it augur well for the Taipans, but Jack, it puts him in some type of consideration for national team appearances. I want to see Armstrong perform with high-level Australian players in that context and see what he can really do. So that MVP discussion led to a whole nother discussion.
Well, what do we need to see from Cairns in the second half of the year? I mean, you said that a play-in is not off the table, so what do we need to see more of?
They have to improve on the offensive end. We spoke about defense, but perhaps it's a two-way deal where because their offense is so bad and they're turning it over, they're just giving it away to the other team. Perhaps that's led to the poor defensive rating. Also, when Armstrong got hurt, Adam Ford had faith in Kyle Adams and Tad Duffelmeyer Jr. That faith was not repaid by those two guys, and I love both of those guys as players, but they had a bad start to the season. They are primarily responsible for why their turnover percentage is so bad this season, and I think he and Adam Ford is going to have to find someone that can play the point guard position effectively when he doesn't have access to Taron Armstrong.
Have you seen enough to make you think that Jackson McCoy can do that as an off-the-bench, 10, 15 minutes a game type player?
I think so. He has to apply more discipline to the way he plays the game. He's got to get tougher on the defensive end. The talent's there, Jack. There's no doubt about that. But I think he's got to have more of a professional mindset and understand how important that position is he's playing and really value those minutes that he has on the court.
Okay, so how do you grade Cairns from a mid-season grade perspective, given where you had them in your preseason predictions?
Let's go D+. I think a D+ is fair. And look, all injuries considered, they still, Jack, had an opportunity to win those 2 games, Brisbane and New Zealand at home. And I feel they lost their games off their own back. The people who they had on the court were good enough and playing well enough in the moment to win those games. So D+ is where I have the Taipans.
And where have you got them finishing at the end of the season?
I think they finish 9.
Okay.
Don't ask. So they don't finish as 10.
Well, so they don't make a run at it. Is that your thinking?
No, I think they make a run in it and just falter at the end.
How big is Friday night's game? So first game back for them, they should have access to probably the entire roster for the first time in the entire season. It looks like that Adam Ford's going to have them all out together. This game at home against Sydney, primetime slot. How big is this game for them? First up.
Jack, you're trying to get me in trouble. You're trying to get me in trouble here.
Oh,
hey,
not.
Hey, Sydney are vulnerable. I don't want to say it. I'm trying to lay off of them. Sydney are vulnerable going up there. Mark my words. Now, look, I know that this is a Cairns discussion, but within the scope of this game, like what's Sydney been doing the past 2 weeks, Jack? Are they going to come out of this break like a dragon breathing fire? Or are they going to continue along the same course that we've seen them tracking going into the FIBA break? Cairns is probably a real tricky game for them because it's going to be a high-energy game. Sydney is going to have to match that intensity, deal with the home crowd. I think Sydney somehow, just on talent, eke out a victory, but it would not surprise me at all to see the Taipans get this one in far north Queensland.
Just for the record, I actually wasn't trying to get you into trouble. Last night when I was doing my notes for this chat, I looked at their next few games and I thought, gee, they've got one game for this round. It's on a Friday night at home. First time they'll get everyone back. Throw everything at this game and then have a week to recover.
And you're exactly right, Jack. You know, I say this about a number of cities around the country, and it doesn't exactly endear me to that city. But you got nothing to do all week, Cairns, except prepare for this game. Fans, corporates, community, this game is everything, and it's against the Sydney team, the Sydney Kings, one of the teams that they hate the most. Also, Jack, we know this could be a trap game for Sydney because they've got Melbourne United Sunday afternoon in Melbourne. So there are a lot of layers to this contest and one that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it's a big one. Friday night, looking forward to that game immensely. Looking forward to everything coming back tomorrow night as well with Illawarra and New Zealand. Rucker, you have a great day. We're going to talk to you across the weekend as well, but this has been a very interesting chat.
All right, Jack, looking forward to it.
Thanks for joining us on NBL Now. Of course, you can stay up to date with all the latest news at nbl.com.au. Illawarra, New Zealand is how we restart things tomorrow night from 7. See you there.